Hey, what's up guys? Rob here. And so for today's rant video, I want to talk a little bit about the postpaid side of things and really just, what spawned this idea was just a conversation I had and I was like, wow, the deception involved when coming to postpaid. And I'm not saying like, postpaid companies are evil or anything like that. It's just, I think a lot of these ads and these deals, these no contract come to us, postpaid accounting kind of does have the blanket over people's eyes is a little bit. Now let me just start off the reason why they started doing this. Okay, well let's actually before we start that, let's start with the beginning. So for the longest time before they changed the way mobile carriers operate today, when you wanted a cell phone, you had to basically run your credit, and depending on your credit would determine whether you owed a deposit per phone line. So if you were going to get a family plan, then if it was $100 a line, if you're getting 4 lines, you'd be paying $400 deposit. But if you had good credit, you didn't have to worry about paying a deposit. If you have very bad credit, your deposit could be as high as $1,000 with Verizon Wireless. But a lot of people did it that way, and that's what made prepaid companies so successful and boom so much, is because there were people who didn't have the best credit, would walk in, hoping they can get a cell phone with that company, and come to find out when they get hit with that $1,000 deposit per line, they needed a cell phone, and that's so prepaid kind of filled that void. It was like, yeah, you didn't get a phone at a subsidiary price, but you still got it cheaper than what you would have gotten it paying, the phone outright. So I mean, instead of paying only 20% of the price of the full value of the phone, on prepaid, you paid 60% of the price full value. So, but you owned the phone outright. You didn't. It wasn't like it was being financed. Picked your plan, solid flat rate. You had a mobile cell phone. Now, one of the hard things about prepaid is the fact that they're not given open gate, is what I want to call it, where there's as much of the carrier's network is spread across the U.S. Prepaids are still limited to certain areas. They're not wide open up like postpaid, which I think, to me, it's totally BS. I think they should be just as open as postpaid because they're under the same umbrella. But there's a reason why they're doing that, is because they want people to be on postpaid because they make their most revenue off postpaid. Now, of course, today that has changed. T-Mobile was the first to do it, which is no contract plans. Come to T-Mobile, no contract plans, which is great. I mean, it is different from how postpaid used to be. I'll grant it that. And it is a little better. But people are misguided under the fact that they're like, I'm going to go on this postpaid, no contract, I'm free to do whatever I want. You are not free to do whatever you want. And yes, as a prepaid carrier, well, not prepaid, but the postpaid carrier does not have you do a 2-year agreement deal. You are still considered under a contract, like it or not, you are. And how, you may ask? Simple. You go to, we'll use T-Mobile as an example because they are the first ones to do this. So credit goes to T-Mobile for this. But so T-Mobile doesn't have you sign a 2-year agreement. Granted, okay, my brother found this out the hard way. So he was like, okay, I'm gonna go to T-Mobile because I'm not gonna be on a contract with them, but I'm gonna have a postpaid account. I'm gonna have good coverage. I'm gonna have all the benefits that come with postpaid, and I'll just pick my phone and pick my plan. Okay, cool. So I walked with him. We went over to T-Mobile down the road, and so he talked to the guy. The guy was like, yeah, we don't do contracts no more. So you're free to do whatever you want. And that's the sucker's deal right there where he suckered him in. So my brother picked the Nexus 5, the original Nexus 5. And then so the guy's like, okay, he's like, I need your ID. And my brother's kind of freaking out. I was like, why does he need my ID? Why does he need my birth certificate? And then the guy was like, oh, can you give me your social? And he's like, he gave his social. And the guy ran his credit. And I was telling my brother, he's running your credit. So my brother's like, why are you guys running my credit for? Well, because if you're not buying the phone outright, you have to finance the phone. In order to finance the phone, your credit has to be good. So my brother was kind of freaking out because his credit was not that good, and he was denied the financing option. He had to buy the phone outright if he wanted the plan. Okay, so basically, in order for you to have what they call no contract freedom, you're better off buying the phone outright, where you completely own the phone and you don't owe anything on it. But if you do the finance option, Yeah, you don't have to pay an early termination fee, and after 6 months into T-Mobile, you're like, I don't want to use T-Mobile no more. I want to try something else. Like, yeah, you're free to go. But your phone that you finance, you have to either pay that off or give it back. So technically, you're not really free. You're not free at all, because when you're on there, you're financing a phone. Basically, that phone has now become your contract. Sure, there's no $300 early termination fee, but paying off the phone is the early termination fee. You're paying it off, and yeah, it does make sense. I mean, I'm not saying that they're wrong for it, but the whole idea of people thinking that they're free from contracts, yes, it's just another contract that's not called a contract. It's called financing, and that's where it's at. And of course, postpaid companies are okay with this because when people want to go in, they want to cancel their services, and they hear that they have to pay off the rest of what they owe on the phone, you know exactly what that does. That stops them from continuing to cancel their service. It stops them because if you're financing the phone over 24 months of payments, which keyword there, 24 months. How much is 24 months? 2 years. So they don't want to bundle all that money up that they would owe in the remainder of their 24 months and pay it right then and there so they can shut down their T-Mobile service. So they stick with T-Mobile and make their small little $12, $19, $27, $35 payment added on to their $70 plan. So yeah, just because it's not called a 2-year contract anymore doesn't mean that the 2-year contract doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that that this new idea of financing is not considered a contract. It is considered a contract because you are promising to pay over 24 months of payments for that phone, and they are promising to give you service on that phone as long as you're financing with them. And yes, you can quit T-Mobile at any time and walk away from the deal, but you have to pay off what you owe on that phone. And there's where your contract is, and there's where your early termination fee is. So has things really changed? Sure, it has. In a better way, because you're not told it's a contract, and people hate that word contract. And of course, T-Mobile and every other postpaid carrier account or carrier companies, they know that people have gotten sick and tired of hearing contract, 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 contract. So what's the best way to replace the word contract? Finance. Because finance, you think money. And people like that. So that's just my rant for today. If you guys enjoyed it, let me know by leaving me that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, right there on the mobile app. My name is Rob with the little Android. Beep beep says the car passing by. And thanks for watching this video. You'll see me in the next one.